J-Horror July continues with Chakushin Ari, or One Missed Call. This was directed by Miike Takashi, written by Daira Miwako, based on Akimoto Yasashi's novel. It stars Shibasaki Ko, Tsutsumi Shinichi, Fukiishi Kazue, and Matsushige Yutaka. And I saw a video, and I wish I could find it. It was probably weeks, months ago. I did do a cursory search, but I couldn't find it. But it said that this may have been actually intended as a satire. Because a lot of the reviews at the time were saying this isn't very much like Miike-san's normal output. It's very tropey, very generic, and many critical responses were rather negative. Now, if you know anything about Miike-san, it's probably that he likes very intense visuals, but the second thing is that there's a very twisted, dark sense of humour. So it feels very much on brand for him to do what looks like a generic piece, because it's actually satirising the fact that it's become quite standard. A lot of these things now are expected in Japanese horror. Like I say, if anyone knows of this source, because it isn't me that's come up with it, if anyone knows the source for that, because I could not find it for the life of me, please put it in the comments, put me out my misery. But this does J-horror well. Even if it is bland and generic, it still does it well. One of the things I've loved throughout this is the fact that there isn't the standard Hollywood jump scare. We have build, release. There's occasional moments where, it is a jump, but it's often earned, and that's fine. Much better for those of us with anxiety who do not like sudden scares out of nowhere. We like that. We like to think that we know that it's coming, at least. But one of the things I do love about this as well, given what I'm studying, is that it's very rooted in psychological background. Early on, we see the thing in the class about abuse begetting abuse. Often, if you were abused as a child, you will pass that abuse on to your own children or to vulnerable people in your care, as appropriate. And that is backed up. That is psychologically valid. That is what research seems to suggest. And, technically in this case, it isn't, as we suspected, from the mother. While she still did an awful thing at the end, the abuse was coming from the sister instead. But even when they're talking about the fact that it might be the mother, when they look at Ritsuko's diary and all of this, alarming stuff on the page, they discuss Munchausen by proxy. And they don't demonize it. They don't say, this woman's awful, she wants to hurt others to give herself attention. Isn't she evil? It's like, no, she's got something wrong with her. She has a lack. She doesn't feel she's gaining attention and doesn't know any other way other than causing harm to her children so people give her sympathy. That is a very understanding viewpoint to have. And this is why, probably one of the reasons I do like this film. It's not like she's awful, there's nothing like that. And I think a lot of J-horror that I've seen does this, when there is something like this at play. It's never a case of this person is awful and evil. Something happened to them and they don't know how to express otherwise. And yeah, like I say, even though it's not the mother, I think it's still handled well until that reveal. I don't think that Munchausen applies because she already got attention for the asthma, although maybe it's a case of diverting the attention from herself, like an inverse version almost of a Munchausen. It's like, I wish everyone would stop going, oh, are you okay? Do you need an inhaler? I'm going to hurt my sister, so everyone's like, oh, are you okay? Do you need something? And no one's focusing on me too much. It might be, rather than a lack of attention, too much attention, so trying to divert it. But this is just someone who's, just about to start the second year of a degree in psychology, so I'm not fully qualified to make that judgment. But I do love this for what it does. It does what it sets out to do quite well. Even if it does feel tropey, that might be the point. And I do want to end on something that I love in a lot of these kind of films, and I'll probably talk about it next time as well. Compassion as a tool of solving the issue. Whatever issue is in the film, compassion being used, because they could be like, no, we're going to exorcise you violently. I know they're trying exorcism earlier in the film, it doesn't work out, but they don't try it again later on when they realise. It's like, no, we'll understand. Like, you did this for whatever reason, and then you felt sad because your mum left you to die. Totally understandable, that. So I will make you feel loved. I will help you. And, then become the focus for your attention, granted, but it's that compassionate element that I appreciate. It does happen quite a lot in the ones that I enjoy, I think. So I want to end on something very light there, because I've talked about abuse, I've talked about Munchausen and psychological issues. I do want to end on something that tickled me, and the ringtone. Every single time it went off, I just kept hearing Lavender Town in my head. That was all I was getting. It's got that similar feel, which makes sense. Obviously, this ringtone is meant to make us feel uncomfortable. This was like, what, 5-6 years or whatever it was after the release of Pokemon. So that tune was known. Again, was that part of a joke? I don't know. But yeah, it just made me chuckle. The fact that every time it was like, do, 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 it was in my head, even though that's not the tune at all. But yeah, next week will be the last of J-Horror July before we move into American Remakes August. I know what the extra one is because of that extra week, but some of you may have figured it out already, let's put it that way, but we'll get there. So yeah, next time will be, like I said, something also about phones, and I hope you'll join me for that. But until then, as always, thanks for watching and take care.